Well, today, someone from URA telling me more about particularly return filing and payments, and but we'll also be hearing from her why is it important for me and you to pay taxes. Ms. Hafsa Seguya, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
You're welcome.
How is URA doing?
Yeah, I would say we are moving on well with the God's grace. We are moving on. We'll be there. I guess we'll be there. The Lord will be by our side. We'll be there.
Yes,
It's not so bad.
The other day you were celebrating, you had your anniversary, was it?
Yes,
And,
we were celebrating 30 years.
Yes, 30
in
years.
existence.
Congratulations. Is that what they say when they're celebrating? Congratulations for celebrating 30 years, but also how was the celebration?
We were celebrating, yes. And we were still celebrating because it has been a season, a taxpayer appreciation season.
Okay.
When we start the celebrations, we started in about late August up to about December. The climax is this week.
Okay.
With a number of activities within
that
there.
were lined up.
Exactly, that were lined up. But we started with the celebrating the 30 years on the 5th of September.
Yeah.
That's when we made 30 years in existence.
Okay.
30 years in developing Uganda. 30 years in collecting taxes.
Yeah.
30 years in making Ugandans better by improving on the way they do business. 30 years in being available for Ugandans in whatever it requires as far as taxes are concerned.
Yeah.
Yes.
Allow me say, well done. I think you're doing well. So, before we deal with return filing and payments,
Yes.
taxes. Many Ugandans, many of us think, one, as if URA is out to get us. Two, we are thinking, why do we pay our taxes? We don't see the things that people are doing. But what's the importance of paying taxes? Why is it important for me and you and that person watching for us to pay taxes?
Definitely paying taxes is a good practice. It's a noble cause. It is one of the ways in which government gets income. To see that it can provide the social services, it has to provide.
Right.
You'll ask me which social services. Government has to see that the hospitals are there, the health centers are in place, and they have the necessary requirements, the equipment and the medicines and all that. Some applies to schools. Government has to ensure that the schools are available and the learners are comfortable, the teachers are well numerated. Some applies to the medical profession in the same area. Government needs to provide security generally to the citizens. And definitely government has to do developments here and there for us to be able to live in a country that is decent. So ideally, it is us who have to work and see that we pay our fair share. We give back to government in form of taxes. Whoever has income and that income is eligible to get taxes from, to be taxed. Because you may have income, but at the end of the year, your income can't reach 10 million or can't even surpass 10 million. So ideally, in such a scenario, I would require you to register for taxes, then give back the return. That is making a declaration of what has happened in your business as far as business transactions are concerned, because you're painting a picture for me. Because what happens in URA, we're operating a self-assessment regime where we want these clients to at least tell us they are the people owning the businesses. They handle the businesses on a daily. That means they understand the business more than me. That is why I do not want to estimate and just imagine that this business should be making this much. That is why I operate a self-assessment regime where I keep reminding you, like today I remind those out there in business, please send in your return in time so that we can understand what is going on. Is it a loss you've made? Is it a profit? what should we expect in case you made some bit of money? What should we expect? Okay. It also helps us in projections to know where we expect these monies at the end of it all, so that we can carry out the exercise in an orderly manner, in an amicable manner. Because the clients that we deal with, they are the reason why we exist.
That's true.
If you look at it, we can't exist without these clients.
Yes.
Because ideally, I'm not going to get the money from my pocket.
Yes.
It is you who comes to do the business. It is you who comes here for employment.
Yes.
Then I come to pick the pay as you earn. It is you who will start up the industry. I'll come to pick the local excise duty. I'll come to pick the VAT. I'll come to pick the income tax. So ideally, we need to handle them well. We need to see that we walk the journey with them, to grow them, avail information, handhold them, to see that these businesses are kept there. They are there. They do not collapse. They don't close. Because whenever businesses close, then I am not doing good at my end. Because my projections will be less what those entities have been giving me. Exactly.
You're talking about returns. And maybe for that person who is watching and thinking, what is a return?
Return is, it is basically you making a declaration that, look here, you are me company X, me individual X. If I'm in business, this is what I have managed to derive as my sales for the last, say, 1 year. And probably these are my business expenses. These are my purchases. The reason why we need to look at all that, because we do not tax the gross income. We basically tax the chargeable income. So we have to reduce it by the allowable expenses. Those are your purchases, those are your business expenses, to see that I can arrive at that the income I'm going to charge to tax.
All right. And who is required to, file a return? Is it everyone who has a business? Is it me who has an 8 to 5? Is it a guy on the street who sells masks and water? Who is required to file a return?
Who is required to file a return? We look at the different tax types that are available. For example, if you are issued a tin and you have income tax on your tin, it implies that you yourself or you, the company, has to draw a picture of what kind of income has come through your business. Say on provisional basis, that's half a year, or the whole year. That means you're telling me the actuals. Because when you give me this provision half a year, it is kind of an estimate. You are looking at things maybe 6 months down the road, or it is an anticipation. But by the end of the year, at least you have a clear position. That is income tax. But when I come to pay as you earn, that you, Byron, pay, that I pay, it is that entity that withholds, it's the one that's supposed to file. So here is the family TV that withholds from your income before they could pay the salary to your bank. Then that means whatever they withhold, at the end of the month, we give them the first 15 days of the following month. Put up everything you've withheld from 1, 2, 3, 5, 750 employees. Then put it together, send it to Uganda Revenue Authority through your pay as you earn return. Equally, if it is VAT, I will only expect those clients that I registered for VAT. Because with VAT, it's not like income tax. VAT has different requirements. Because income tax is like the starters. When you come onto the register, what we give you is income tax, because basically you've come with a hope of getting some income. That is where the income tax comes into play. But with VAT, it means that I'm looking at somebody who has moved a step forward. What is that step forward? You can at least collect 150 million in a year as your gross sales. Then you qualify to register for VAT. When I look at what you deal in, you are dealing in taxable supplies. Those that where I will derive the 18%. Yes, they could be zero rated items, but still I would require you to register.
What are taxable items?
Taxable are those that are clearly where I'll apply 18% that have to pick the 18% along the way as you're transacting business.
Okay.
Exactly. But when I look at those that are zero rated, they are picking tax at zero rate, implying that you're not paying VAT. But at the end of it all, you will have a position probably that may necessitate you to be in an offset position. How? It implies that I have purchased or I have expensed more than I have sold. So the VAT on my expenses, the VAT on my purchase exceeds the VAT on my sales. So the difference in between the two VAT components will give me a credit. So I can say, let me push it to the next month, then it becomes an offset. But once it makes 5 million, we give you the option to apply for a cash refund. That is how it comes in. So that we can refund your monies in real time, and we will be good to go. And with the introduction of my IFRIS, that's the electronic fiscal receipting and invoicing solution, the refund mechanism is going to be expedited. How? Because recently, when you were filing, I would require to get a justification of why you're in an offset position. Then you need to back it up with documents. Those are the invoices. And mark you, maybe this offset has been on for a year. You're looking for some documents, you can't exactly get them as an invoices. But with the introduction of IFRIS, it is a platform. It's a self-service platform that we manage as URA. So it implies that whatever you do, if it's there, I will not need these documents. I will just read on to a system. That means at the end of it all, the refund claim applications will be processed faster than what it has been at the end of it all. So it depends on what tax type I registered you for to know who is filing and what could be the due date. Because when you look at VAT, when you look at local service tax, when you look at pay as you earn, their due dates are 15th, by the 15th of the following month. Implying that when we end our November, we're in December. I am waiting for you from the 1st of December up to the 15th. When I say buy, I don't imply come on the 15th and log in. Traffic will be very high. At times you may fail to even send in your return. And when you fail and the system hasn't gotten your return, by midnight of the 15th day, the system will automatically push in a penalty. That is where I don't want to go. That is why I am waiting for you from the 1st. Today is the 7th. I am still waiting for you. If you're registered for VAT, if you're registered for pay as you earn, for local excise duty, please do the needful and push in this return well in time so that we can avoid certain costs that would have not come in once we comply in the right way and in the right time.
All right. How does one watching us out there is thinking, all right, I want to, I don't want that penalty. I want to file my return as soon as I can. How do I do it? How does one file their return?
Before you even think about filing returns, I should be expecting you to have kept business records. Implying that you should have a track record of your sales. When you sell, issue out this invoice or issue out this receipt. Yet when you purchase, ask for it. Most especially now when I have the fiscalized invoice and the fiscalized receipts. When you go to purchase, say at a supermarket, at a hardware, at those big entities, please ask for a fiscalized document. Then push it here. When you expense in the same way, you pay rent, you pay for garbage, you pay other business, you pay trading license. So at the end of it all, let us ask for the right documents. Those documents constitute my business records. That is where the whole story starts. Because when you're filing return, that means you are drawing a picture from when the year started. And you are basically putting it on paper. Or putting in a template. We have a template online on our web portal. Our web portal is www.ura.go.ug. Once you get there, you will just log into your account. And your account will require your TIN and your password. By the time we issue you a TIN, we issue you a default password. implying that please log in using the default password, then save your secret password on the system. So ideally when you reach a portal page, because there's a VAT normal return and there's a VAT return for maybe diplomats. So once you're filing for a diplomatic mission, you'll choose diplomatic. So local excise duty is equally there. The template is there. Pay as you earn is there. Income tax is equally there. But income tax looks at two returns. One is provisional, half year. Then the final comes at the end of the year. When we end our year from 1st July up to 30th June, we equally give you the 6 months up to 30th December to give us the final return of that year that has ended. So it's like I'm coming to the close of December. I am expecting the final return of 2020, 2021. By that time. And I'm equally expecting a provisional for a company by the 31st of December. For this current year. That is what it is. But if you are an individual, I would expect your provisional to reach me by the 30th of September. Because with an individual, we are looking at an individual in 4 different avenues. Because you could file the amount, but maybe you're not in position to pay everything at a go. So we can look at you in the 4 different quarters and say, yes, you have filed, but you have pushed in something, but you make sure that by the 30th of June, everything has been paid under the provision arrangement.
So as if you give them the provision of pay every quarter, throw in something like that?
Exactly. If you can do it at once. When you file by the 30th of September, you ensure that you pay everything. But those who can't, we ensure that you can continue trading, whereas you are giving back, so that you are not caught off guard. Because once those amounts remain outstanding, at the end of it all, they are going to pick interest. Because unpaid tax is a debt to government. And if it becomes a debt to government, government makes an assumption that you have been using the money probably to generate income. That is why the interest bit comes in. So to avoid the interest bit of it, at least you go on clearing bit by bit.
I hope people have known you don't want government to kubanja you. They will assume that you're making money, so they'll keep so pay your taxes. I think that's what they're saying. But you talked about returns, and you keep mentioning pay as you earn, VAT. I see here WHT. I don't know what that means.
Exactly.
But what are these types of returns? What are they? What are the different ones?
The different ones. Yes, we had talked about the pay as you earn. That is what they withhold from your salary. Then Family TV has to send it to us.
Send it to you by the 15th.
By the 15th of the following month. Same applies to withholding tax. Withholding tax, normally what we do as URA, we designate withholding tax agents. We look at government MDAs and maybe those big companies. We know definitely they have suppliers they work with. So once you supply to an entity in a transaction and it has an aggregate of 1 million and above, as in an amount, the entity or the withholding tax agent is supposed to withhold 6%. Implying that, for example, if you say that it is you're going to supply to a tune of 2 million, maybe you're supplying a certain item to company X. So when company X is paying you, yes, you'll invoice them the whole 2 million. When company X is paying you, they are going to pay you 94% of the 2 million. The 6% is staying behind. Withholding tax is basically income tax you pay in advance.
So it's company X that pays that tax, not me.
And pushes it back to us by the 15th day. Like pay as you earn, the way it's done.
So it's not, let me give an example. If I'm supplying eggs to say Byron's supermarket or whatever,
and if Byron is a designated withholding tax agent, they will need to withhold 6%. Withholding tax is income tax, in other words.
Okay.
Reason why we do like that, because some entities get lost when they carry out business transactions.
Yeah.
At the end of the year, we can't see them on the radar.
Yeah.
Reflecting those transactions. So we said, where should we tap you? Let us tap at the time when there is business, when there is income,
yes,
so that we don't go wrong. That is why we take the 6%. But ask me how you utilize it, because it's a credit on your side and you have paid it in the course of the year. We wait for you because Makio Company X has pushed in their withholding tax return by the 15th date of the following month. But for you, wait for you at the end of the year, because you're not going to only supply that company. You're going to supply here, there, as business is in the course of the year. So they are still withholding on whatever amounts are there, provided the amounts exceed 1 million.
Okay.
So what happens? We wait for you to file at the end of the year.
Okay.
We are looking at you. 30th June has reached. Then we give you 6 months to file your final return. So as you file your final return, you push in the income, you push in the purchases, the business expenses. At the end of it all, we have that income we're charging to tax. We charge it at 30%, then we derive what you're going to pay. Okay. But alongside, there is what you paid provisionally. In the course of the year, as I had told you, you just bring it and reduce it by that. You have the withholding that was deducted by the different entities. Please feel free to come and reduce it, because it's your credit.
Yes.
At the end of the day, it's reducing the amount of tax you would have paid us in one go at the end of the year, because you came paying it in bits and pieces in the whole year.
You've talked about the deadline. You keep mentioning 15th as the day, but is that the same for all? Let me say I own an apartment here in Kampala. I'm sure I pay rental tax, I think.
Exactly.
So is it also the same for me, or the deadlines are different for different types of taxes I'm paying?
The deadlines are different, because when I look at the tax types I have mentioned, where a deadline is 15th of the following month, then we'll look at income tax. As I initially mentioned, with income tax, it goes along with rental income tax.
Okay.
Then we look at the provisional. Our provision, if it's a company, has to reach in by the 31st of December, because we are operating a financial year. Whereas if it's an individual, that's where we say we are looking at maybe the 30th of September, then we look at 31st December, then 31st March, then finally 30th June, in those 4 quarters I have mentioned.
Okay.
But if it's a company, the provision has to be in by 31st December. Equally, the final return has to be in by a 31st December of the following year. Because I wait for the whole year to end, that means you have wrapped up all your transactions. Everything is well, then I give you 6 months to put it together, and my 6 months will lead to 31st of December. So I'm giving you in between 1st of July and 31st of December. Feel free anytime there to push in your provisional return, provided your final return, provided it does not exceed 31st of December that following year.
When it does that mean what you say?
It's a penalty.
It's a penalty.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because I'm going to be penalizing you 200,000 whenever the return is late for each month. It goes late. So it's a little hectic. And yes, it has gone late, but at times it even has payment and you haven't paid these monies. So it goes on picking interest at 2% compounded. So all those are costs that I would wish our clients would see how to avoid them by operating within the required timelines to see, because it's very painful for somebody to push in a nil return and they push in the nil return very late and you wonder what was the magic in knowing that you didn't work. And look here, I'm penalizing you because when the penalties are pushed out, they are system generated. They do not look at the quality of return you've given me, whether it's a payment, whether it's an offset, whether it's a carried forward, whether it's a nil. It doesn't look at that. The issue is, has it come in time?
Yeah.
So that is where we start the whole discussion. So the reason we are here to see that we remind our clients in the business world to see that pushing this return well in time, so that we can save ourselves this and that. We are going into Christmas. Push it in at the earliest, so that you get peace with your Christmas. We don't need to call you. We do not need to. Whenever we send mail, if you have done it, just ignore and say, no, they've sent mail, fine. It is maybe computer programmed, but I am
But me, I'm
okay.
good.
Exactly.
Or awesome. Errors. I want to think many people experience errors as they're trying to file their returns. They experience some errors. So I don't know what the causes of the errors are. What are some of the common causes of these errors?
Some of the common causes of the errors, you look at when one uses a template, many times, and at times it becomes obsolete. It failed to sense and pick the formulas. It will cause errors on the template. So at times when you're using a template and it has errors, just move out and pick a new template, then auto-populate it with whatever you need, then push it in real time. And maybe secondly, what would still bring in errors? When you're putting in transactions that of, say, the monthly returns, transactions that are of different tax periods. I am looking at my November return, say VAT, that you're pushing in December. From the 1st. But you're here declaring a transaction for October. Actually, it does not, it won't work out. What you can only do is to go back and amend your October return and include that particular. And when we come to still VAT, when what would cause an error is when now we're operating the fiscalized invoices that have physical document numbers that replace the invoice numbers. So when you're pushing in a transaction that has a physical document number that does not exist in the system will reject it and it will cause an error. So let us be mindful of how we are punching in these figures. Or otherwise, probably what we could do, for those who are VAT registered and are using IFRS, it is more prudent for you and easier to export the report from the available reports we avail. We avail summarized sales reports, summarized purchases report. Just export it in Excel, then bring it here. It makes work simpler.
I was actually about to ask, for those people who, they're thinking, can someone else do this for me?
Exactly, we are trying to simplify everything. And where we are going, once you're on IFRS and you have embraced it, we are looking at availing a pre-filled return template form for you. That means I am reducing the cost of doing business.
Yes, you are.
That one person you have been hiring to fill the VAT returns will not be necessary. Because if you log in with your TIN and password, then what you're seeing is I have already populated the different fields for you. Your work is to confirm whether actually these transactions happened. Then probably look at the operating expenses. If they are properly captured, if there are a few that are missing, input them, then you submit. So that's where we are going. We are trying to make it simpler for you to comply. Because we know you have a lot. You have to think for this business. You have to think for where the money is coming from. And when it comes, you have to make sure the money has to plow in more money. That is a lot. You have to change this and that and look out for this. So we are on the other end trying to see that we simplify. We walk this journey with you to see that you can comply.
You said IFRS is an app. How do we is it available on?
IFRS is an application.
How do we get it?
That you register. And apparently when we rolled it out on the 1st of July 2020, the Ministry of Finance gazetted VAT registered clients to start with. But ultimately, it will go on to all the business clients we have. But we are doing it in a phased approach so that it can be orderly. So apparently, if you're a VAT registered client, it starts with registration.
Okay.
Once you have registered, it's a one-off. And the approval for your registration application is auto. It means the system approves it.
Okay.
It does not cause any human intervention back end for somebody to wait for that somebody to be in office and all that. Then approve it. It's auto approved once the fields are properly filled in. So that means, what are we looking at next? Configure your items or your services, implying that tell the system what you're actually dealing. Reason why we want you to tell the system, because we have clearly mapped the tax law, that is the VAT law, onto the IFRS platform. Okay. It is supposed to feel and sense that this particular item is standard rated. This item is exempt. This item is zero rated. So that it gives it the right tax treatment.
All those are in the system.
Exactly,
you don't need to
build. That is why I am still advocating for those who are not yet there to be there. And maybe what we did is, the reason why it's IFRS, electronic because you're using an electronic gadget, fiscal because a transaction is expected to have a tax component in it, invoicing for those who are VAT registered, receipting for one who is not VAT registered. And it is a solution that came to address certain challenges. So ideally, you could not be VAT registered now, but you have a platform where you can also register and use IFRS. Reason why we are doing that systematically, because we know those who are not VAT registered may be suppliers to those who are VAT registered. Just look at a supermarket. There's one supplying the Ginax, one supplying the beans, one supplying the ice cream, one supplying the yogurt, one supplying. Those are all suppliers, but you'll find the suppliers in their own levels. They may not be up there at 150 million, but they are suppliers. But what is happening now with the big entities, to work with you, you either issue an e-invoice or you issue an e-receipt. So that's where we are going. Then why don't you register on IFRS so that you can keep that client with you?
That becomes very easy.
Yes.
If I want to pay, how do I pay? Are there particular platforms you deal with, or you deal with everything? If I'm on Visa,
what
MasterCard.
happens, the modification we've done in the system, after you filing your return, the system auto-generates for your payment slip. That is how far we've gone. You don't need to file, then get on, look for how do I generate. The system does it. As it returns an acknowledgement for a return, it will return a payment slip. So you just print out. But when you print out, and the other thing we have done for ease of business, initially we used to tell you to select a particular bank, but now the payment slip is open. Because you may have, for example, you may say I'm selecting maybe Stanbic Bank because it's nearer to me. Then you print. By the time you reach there, Stanbic Bank has closed. You've reached late. Yet another bank is open, but the slip is tied onto that bank. That is why we made it open. That when you find this is not available, go to this. If you find yourself near the other than what you would have selected, go anywhere. That is one of the things we have done as a modification in our business process reengineering. And maybe the other is availing different payment platforms. You can pay over the counter, the traditional payment we go and line up. You can pay by a bank draft. You can use Payway. You can use mobile money, both MTN and Airtel. You can use a check that you write in the names of URA and give us. You can use EFT, where you give your bankers a command to transfer a particular amount to your account. You can use RTGS, that is real-time gross settlement, implying that the difference in between RTGS and EFT, they are all transferring from an account. But this is done in real time, that when you effect it, it has to reflect immediately. Whereas EFT, the bankers maybe will tell you wait for a day or two. Maybe we need to go to the clearing house here and there in Bank of Uganda and all that until the payment will reflect. So we have a variety of payment platforms that you can choose. You cannot fail. At least you even say I can pay through Payway. I can maybe pay through mobile money. The reason why we have put more emphasis on the payment platforms, when we were in COVID, we saw the beauty of what we had done, because clients can't reach us, but they could be on mobile banking. They could have mobile money. So in the event that they can't reach us and they need to put the obligation right, to avoid the penalties, unnecessary penalties, once it's at home and just goes online, generates a payment slip, gets that payment registration number, and puts it in the mobile money application, then they're credited.
We thank you. I want to say thank you for making life easy, because I'm thinking, because I was about to ask, now during COVID, if we were still the other side, we would really struggle.
We would really struggle as a nation, because once we can't reach you, we can't get the tax.
Then you can't get the tax. Then, so very well done. We're coming towards the end of our conversation, and just want you to remind us again, when you file your return, what is some of the benefits you get? Because I mean, someone might be out there thinking, hey, okay, you're encouraging me to file my return, but mfunamuchi, what do I get?
One of the benefits, or some of the benefits as you file your return. One, when you file your return, you will avoid the penalties that may come in handy with late filing. You will avoid the estimated assessments. Because what happens when you don't file and we wait for you and you are not there? The law gives us the power to level the ground. How am I leveling the ground? I have to use an estimate. I look at your colleagues in the same industry and use the industry average to get or to estimate what you might have done. And at times you didn't even work. Which is not fair. It is not fair. That is why I tell clients, please try to push in whatever is there. We don't mind, but please push it in. It's like even you might have gotten a tin maybe some time back before COVID, and you were working very well. When COVID came, things changed a lot, and maybe you're no longer working. Why do you sit there? Come to us and tell us, my business closed.
Yes, I was about to
ask, we had to use the money to survive and all that and everything, blah, blah, blah. It is well. Come to us, keep that communication with us. We are going to do one thing. We will deactivate the tin. It is like freezing it for a while. Then as you wake up, as you put everything right, and you're back again on your feet, then you can come to us and say, I'm back again. I request for a reactivation. We will give you the same tin, but active on the system. Reason why we advise that, so that no estimated return goes over your tin. Because if it goes, you will have the onus of either objecting or proving to us that actually you didn't work. That's a lot of work for yourself. Why do you give yourself work? Yet there are simpler mechanisms that can make your life easier. Yes.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hafsa, for joining us today.
You're welcome.
How do we, are there self-help if we want to find out as if support?
Exactly.
Yes.
Those who can send mail, you can send an email on services@ura.go.ug. For those who can't send mail, we have a toll-free number on 0800 11 7000. For 0800 21 7000. We even have a WhatsApp number now.
All right.
Yes, for those, because we are looking at the trends.
Yes.
It's all about being online.
Yes.
So we have a WhatsApp number on 772 14 0.
772
14 quadro 0.
Quadro 0 is 4 zeros, right?
Yes, exactly.
4 zeros.
So that you chat with us, tell us what the issue is. You will get those that will respond to you.
I hope we won't be, there's a thing on WhatsApp called blue ticking. I hope we won't be blue ticked. They read the message but they don't reply.
I wouldn't expect that.
Yes.
I wouldn't. And actually, if you're blue ticked and there is no response, feel free to go through other communication channels and let us know that I am using your WhatsApp and sent this challenge on this date, but I haven't received a response, yet you blue ticked me, so that you can go back and put it right.
Awesome.
Yes.
I also need to commend your social media.
Yes.
I think you do well.
Thank you.
I follow you, at least on Twitter. You, if I've had a challenge before and I was replied immediately. So I hope it was the same for other people. But that was URA. Every Tuesday we're going to be discussing a little bit more about your taxes, what you need to know, why you need to know it, and how you should pay tax. Madam Hafsa, any last words, encouragement for those who are thinking?
Any last words? I would like to thank the general public. First of all, for walking the journey with us. Giving us the taxes, it is a discipline for one to take from their profits and give you. It's actually a discipline, and we ought to appreciate it. We'd like to appreciate them very much, to appreciate those who have registered their businesses, to appreciate those who have cooperated with us, and probably to ask those who haven't done so. Please check yourself and put it right. Before we could come in with a penalty, we can come in with interest, because that will be eating away part of your profits.
That's true.
And when the profits are done, it will eat away part of your capital. So that is not what I would want. So I would like to thank you very much. Thank the management of Family TV for giving us the opportunity to speak to the bigger public on their media house. I would like to thank you very much, and have a blessed Christmas in case we don't hear from each other.
All right.
And a blessed 2022.
All right. There you have it. Next up is Step Up, where we find out these businesses of young people who are doing small businesses and how they are flourishing and how they're doing, and how you can also start a business and then you start paying tax and to the government. But that was all for Morning Glory. We'll see you again tomorrow at 7 a.m. here on Family TV. Have a good day.
Do you know that you can now enjoy great enriching shows anywhere through